Hello, my awesome family. How are you doing? You know, this is another powerful interview from the Awesome Music Show. But today, as you know, we have been changing the name a little bit just to open the scope of interviews that we can do. So today, you are on the Dayle Show, and I have a very special guest with me. I'll be introducing him in a few minutes. But our previous guest was Patrick Wilson, and he is also connected to Apostle Fulford. So we want to just play a little bit of one of his songs, and then we go right into this powerful interview. You're going to be hearing some really powerful, life-changing information on this interview, and that's one of the best things about the Awesome Music Show and also the DLT show is that you will hear great information being posted on this show. So there is a song from Patrick, and we're going to just be playing just a little bit of it as we go into this powerful, powerful interview. As usual, it's another awesome day given to us by an awesome God to do some awesome things. Here we go with some great music before the interview. Of course, the song features Berlicia and Gaynell supporting vocalists on this track. This song is called Stand, and I'm just so grateful to share this song on the show with you today. And I'm going to be tagging also the video for this song in the description below, so you'll be able to join and celebrate along with Patrick and his singers on his beautiful, beautiful song, Stand. This is actually the second version of Stand, so you will find that on YouTube as well. But we go right into the interview. Today, my special guest on the show, he is a former police officer, former Rastafarian. He has worked extensively with the Turks and Caicos government, and he has several accomplishments. He is also the chancellor for the Smith Christian University and also the senior pastor for a church located in Florida called the Harvest Restoration Global Ministry in Fort Lauderdale. I have on the show with me today my special guest, Apostle Dr. Earle Fulford. Welcome to the show, Apostle. How are you doing?
Oh, great. Thank you so much for this invaluable opportunity
Yes,
to
yes.
share with you on this forum. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So life is so funny, and I just say God works in so many different ways. This interview is made possible because of a post I saw on social media with my very good friend, Minister Patrick, who recently graduated from the university that you're now chancellor of. And fast forward just about 2 weeks later, this is the second interview arising from that graduation. We're going to be getting into that at the latter part of the interview, but I want to start off with your walk with Christ as a Christian. How did that transformation take place, leading us to where we are today with you as chancellor of one of the leading Christian universities in Florida?
Well, it's interesting. It was 22 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, I think I was in the middle of the ocean.
Yes.
Uh, it was like a transformation moment for me.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, working in the government system, and at the same time, I don't think my lifestyle was, you know, what it ought to be.
Hmm.
And in fact, going through, my own changes, personal changes,
Yes.
and life, and uh, drinking, alcohol, smoking, and carousing, uh, womanizing, if that's the case.
Hmm.
And I was just in the center of things, coming my way. And I guess deep down inside, I was touching the whole world over, trying to find my way.
Yes.
And um, you know, it was in the middle of the night. Very interesting. I thought I was dreaming, but it was like I saw the heavens, this heavenly sky in gold, and I saw all these stars and circle around all the groups of stars. And, it was a language. I put it as the Hebrew language. I couldn't understand it. And I woke up and I was perspiring. I knew it was a spiritual thing. And so I just went back to sleep. And when I lied down and went back to sleep, I saw the same vision of the heavenly kingdom, but I was it was in English, and it was saying, the Lord was saying, I have work for you to do. And I just got on my knees. I didn't really know the Lord like that. I mean, I came from a family background, Christian, but I just prayed, and the Lord said, I just need you. I need you to do my work. Went to church and I, testify, and I told the pastor that I'm changing my life. And I confessed, and, in the presence of the congregation, and thereon my life was changed.
Awesome, awesome. I mean, God uses several different ways to get to us when He wants us to do His work. And as you mentioned, the different things that you were doing, drinking and all the different lifestyles, but there was just a mark on you. And that's one of the remarkable things about God. Sometimes I think He just allows us to just do our own thing for a little while to please ourselves. And then when He's ready to pull us in, He just pulls us in. So I'm happy that you got that chance to actually surrender to Him and not be stiff necked as some people are. Even when they know God is calling them, they still waste time. They still act as if they're not sure, and they spend many, many years languishing in sin. So I'm thankful to God for that. You were also in the police service. Tell us a little bit about that, and also how you transformed from being in the police service to several years of extensive work with the
Right.
government in Turks and Caicos.
Well, listen, like I said, my I grew up and like I say in a middle class family, right? Back in the day, um, let's say in the early 70s, right? Um, my parents had everything one needed, but peer pressure in the community
Yes.
was a different thing. And I wouldn't say a troubled child, but I guess searching for an identity and uh, you know, with my peers and fitting in to the system and so forth. So everything has happened to me. I start becoming a delinquent. I start skipping school and so forth like that. And I was about 14 and I was already smoking and drinking. All right, even going to school. And after I finished school, I guess my parents thought was going down the wrong road. And so they negotiated with the commissioner of police to take me into the police force as a form of discipline, as a form of reforming someone who they think was going out of line. So
Okay.
I joined the police force, and interesting enough, I was the first Turks and Caicos Islander, along with one of my friends, Dioven Higgs, the late Dioven Higgs. They sent us to Barbados for police training for 6 months. And then I came back home and I served the police force around about 5 years per se. And after I left the police force, I mean, I served well. I did what I had to do, protecting life and property and
Yes.
so forth, right? And after I left the police force, I wanted the adventures, so I um, I signed up to join this um, company called Saxon Marine Company, and I went sailing the seas. And
Wow.
as a young boy, I mean, it was an opportunity to be able to travel the world, you know, sailing to South America, Venezuela, America, Spain, Germany, Nigeria, uh, um, you know, Paris, and all of these different places on these ships carrying crude oil and iron ore. And so, as a young guy, my eyes, my focus, my mind was open, traveling the world and seeing all these different countries when most people at that time didn't have that opportunity,
Wow, that's
right?
good.
And yeah, and so after I spent like 5 years sailing, I came back home. And that is when another part of my life began to change,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because now I'm an adult making decisions for myself,
Right.
and the Turks and Caicos was in a transition. We were, yes, under the British system, but we had what they call direct colonialism. So the entire country was ran by British people. And uh, there we had this type of class system where only a few aristocrats in society had the opportunity to sit in government. And so we didn't have the general voting system at that time. And so I came home as one who saw the world with open mind, and I joined up with uh, the first premier, the first chief minister and national hero of the Turks and Caicos, the late Honorable Jakes McCartney, who also organized a revolution, a movement of people, right? And and we got together, and we wanted to bring more freedom to the people of the Turks and Caicos. Like I say, we were not having direct elections and so forth. And so this guy, Jags, he sent forth a revolution, right? And he sent forth a revolution, and things begin to change,
Yes.
and things begin to change.
Wow. Wow. So this would have been by now. This would have been somewhere in the 80s, right?
But no, no, still in the 70s, because what
Okay.
happened? What happened was, it was a painful thing. After the movement was formed, right? We turned that movement into a political party,
Mm.
all right, headed by, like I said, the late Honorable Jakes McCartney, and the uh, one of the living legends, Honorable Oswald Skippings. And so what happened is that there was some serious stuff. There's a place called the Junkanoo Club. This culture, the Junkanoo Club was the place where we all met and discussed the affairs of the country and how we are going to change the Turks and Caicos from this direct colonial system to uh, full adult suffrage. This is where the change took place, because
Yes.
after the revolution, they held up the commissioner of police, they held up the news, the journalists, they held up all of the key persons in this Junkanoo Club, and we demanded freedom.
Wow.
And it was out of this movement the British government recognized the the power that we had. And so they set the date for a general election, first time in history, 1976. Right? And we had where they had the first general election,
Yes.
and our government, under the leadership of the late Honorable Jakes McCarthy, the first national hero, won the election. And that was the beginning of our freedom, where we had full adult suffrage for general election, for the people to have a voice in the country. And so, and that's where I joined the government after the party won in 1976. October the 6th, 1976, I joined the government. And to be honest with you, um, I became the first official appointed social welfare officer of the Turks and Caicos. I also became the first probation officer of the Turks and Caicos. I also became the first truancy officer of the Turks and Caicos, all under the umbrella of social welfare services. And so I established the social welfare system, and I was able to move the social welfare system. In fact, the social welfare system was transformed out of the pauper relief system. The pauper relief system is the British ordinance of 1887, where the British provide ration for the poor people, little food items and milk and biscuit and cheese and what have you. And so when I joined the government, I then transformed that pauper relief system into a social welfare system. And the department began to develop from social welfare to social services, now social development services. Okay, and in that process, my brother, in that process of being the the one who established the department and working, I started working with delinquent children through the probation system. And I came from that background. So, I was very much interested in now helping persons, to reform and conform to society. At the same time, providing uh, supplementary food and financial benefits to the poor people. Uh, and I became responsible for youth work in the department because with very little resources and those small countries, like a whole lot of different services was under the larger umbrella of the social welfare services. And so under the social welfare services, I had responsibility for youth, probation, and truancy. So that and out of that system, out of that responsibility, right? Um, you know, um, they wanted me to get some training, and the government secured a scholarship from the Commonwealth Youth Program,
Yes.
and that allowed me the opportunity to go to Guyana. That's where I started my education after high school. So
Yes.
I went to Guyana on the scholarship, and I spent a year at the Kuru Kuru College in Guyana. And then the college was connected to the University of Guyana. And that's where I studied youth and community development.
Awesome.
Okay?
Awesome.
And I'm telling you, after I studied the youth and community development, the government allowed me, the program allowed me to go to Trinidad and Tobago to study some youth work there. And I went to Trinidad and Tobago and I studied the youth camps, Chagaramas, El Dorado, and those are some youth projects where
Yes.
young people that Trinidad and Tobago develop to help equip young people to develop skills to make their contribution to society. Then they sent me to Dominica,
Hmm.
right? I went to Dominica and I studied some youth projects there, yard and jigs, leathercraft, and this a furniture making project. And so I modified, adapted, and presented to the Turks and Caicos. Okay,
That's great.
when I returned, I became but due to that program, that training program, the Commonwealth Youth Program, I became associated with the Commonwealth Youth Program generally throughout the Caribbean.
Hmm.
And I became the director for the youth of the Commonwealth Youth Program, and I was the representative for Turks and Caicos. And so all the Caribbean youth leaders met together to discuss projects, youth development projects for the Caribbean. We are one uh, chain of islands with the same common history. So we developed the same, all those countries had basically the same experience, the same youth um, problems.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so we came together to determine how we could develop various programs like youth exchange program, like the Duke of Edinburgh Awards program, you know, uh, eh, skill training projects, a whole lot of different projects we put together to help young people to be equipped to face the challenges in society. And and with due respect, and I must mention,
Yes.
there was a VSO, a voluntary service officer, that they sent over to the Turks and Caicos to assist me. Her name was Roisin McManus, and she made very great contribution to the advancement of the social development with me.
Mm-hmm.
And after she finished her assignment, I must make mention of my brother Leo Silva, who eventually succeeded me and became the chief welfare officer at one time, you know, and and uh, and together we build the social development. But one important thing I want to mention is
Yes.
that with responsibility for youth development, the fact that I've gone to Guyana, study youth and community development, and responsible for organizing youth projects and the Turks and Caicos, you know, I I I coordinated all the youth programs and youth groups in the
Mm-hmm.
country, brought them together, right? And it was in 1985. The United Nations declared the International Youth Day to observe or to observe all of the plights of young people around the world. And
Mm-hmm.
every country start organizing youth development programs, right? And uh, in honor of the United Nations International Youth Year, 1985. So what I did, attending these Caribbean Commonwealth Youth Forums with all these different directors from each country, youth directors, I proposed. I said, you know something? I want to host the Commonwealth Youth Board of Directors meeting in the Turks and Caicos. That was a milestone,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
To invite all of these different directors of youth from all the Caribbean countries, every Caribbean countries, into the Turks and Caicos, and we plan the programs and projects for the people, not only of the Turks and Caicos, but for the Caribbean. And I was fortunate enough at that time, we initiated the Caribbean Youth Caucus.
Oh.
And out of the Caribbean Youth Caucus, we organized a group of young people, right, out of representatives from every Caribbean country. And at that time, in the Turks and Caicos, I handpicked the current Bishop uh, Colita Williams III
Mm-hmm.
to represent the Turks and Caicos as the first youth representative of the Caribbean Youth Caucus.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I finally I decided that I was going to take the youth development project a little further. At that time, you know, we feel like the government was not paying sufficient attention to the young people. And I came, you know, every year we would have like youth rallies, you know, all these young people. put forward their placards expressing their problems to the government and everything. And at one of the forums, the national forums, when all the youth groups and the governmental officials and everybody together on one accord at a ceremony, I said, why not make, why not set aside a day
Yes.
as a public holiday to recognize the young people of the Turks and Caicos Islands?
Wow.
And it was, and it was in 1989, 1989, the government accepted my proposal and declared the last Friday, September annually as a public holiday.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and the Turks and Caicos, the last Friday in September is a public holiday and recognition of young people and the country.
Wow, awesome, awesome. Apostle Fulford, we have to rejoin for part two because there are several other things that we have not yet touched, your book, your songs, and also the Smith Christian University. So we're going to just rejoin. Just don't go anywhere. We're going to just rejoin for part two so we can transform this information into what you're currently doing for the kingdom of God. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be rejoining for part two of this powerful interview. Several things he has done as the first, and we want to recognize that. Stand by on the Dayle T Show. Apostle Fulford live, part two coming up. See you soon.